Hello and welcome back. Hi, I'm Wendy J. Haney, and today we're going to talk about the Bear, I guess it doesn't matter which way I position it, the Bear Paw Block. Yep, this is also referred to as the bear's foot, hand of friendship. I don't know, I kind of like the name of that. Hands of friendship, cat's paw. Also, it could be called the duck's foot in the mud, which is funny because that's another video that I've done, but it's just slightly different. As I've said, these blocks always have lots of names. This is another block in the barnyard quilt blocks that I'm doing for a baby quilt. Okay, this one is super easy, and a lot of times you'll find that people will combine these to make a bigger block. So this block here is, I do believe I'm working with a, yes, this is a 6-inch finished block. And so we're gonna get going on this, and then hopefully I'll remember to show you that you could then combine these and twist them and to make one bigger block if you'd like. So lots of things you can do with this block. So let's get started. This is a super fun and easy block. So this will go together very, very quickly for you. All you need is, as I said, I'm working with a 6-inch finished block, which means it's 6.5-inch unfinished. And basically, it's 3 squares across at the top, which means these have to be 2-inch finished, 2, 4, 6, gets our 6-inch finish, which means you add your 1/4-inch seam around that, and you've got a 2.5-inch unfinished block you're working with for these and these. And then this is a 4.5-inch block. Come on, how simple can this be? So I'm working with 3 colors. You can do this however you want. If you want to go with your dark or the same color in the middle as you've got your other side of your half square triangle, go with it. Make whatever you want. So we need I chose a medium, a light, and a dark tone. So we've got our medium tone is our 4.5-inch block. Super, super easy. Then we need 4 half square triangles. To make 2 half square triangles at a time, you need to take gotta make sure I get my notes right so I tell you right. You need take the finished size. So in this case, the finished size is 2-inch. And you're gonna add 7/8 of an inch. And I'm sorry, just go with an inch. So take your finished size and add an inch. And that's what you're gonna start with your block. So we need a 3-inch block of our dark and a 3-inch block of our light. That's going to give me 2 half square triangles. And then, so that means I need another set to make my other 2. Now, if you're gonna do a bunch of these blocks, heck, even if you're only gonna make 2, that means you need 8 half square triangles, and there's an easier way. In that case, find my video that's gonna be in a link above here that shows you how to make 8 half square triangles at one time. That's the way to go if you're using a block like this in a quilt or you're gonna need multiples of them. But in this case, I'm just showing you how to make one block. So we take our 3-inch squares to make our half square triangles. And before I show you how to do that, well, gee whiz, we need our final 2.5-inch block for the corner. Okay, so we're gonna set those aside. So to make your half square triangles, take one of your fabrics, whichever is the easiest to mark on. And you're gonna draw an angle on the back of it, corner to corner. So I always like my OmniGrid ruler because it has an angle in the middle. So I put the angle on one side of the square, and I make sure if you cut your square square, if you line up the angle, then your corners should line up. So we'll just maneuver that a little bit there. And now I've got a marker that's not a marker. I've got a pencil that's more like a pencil, so it's dark enough to show up. So we're gonna do that on both of our squares. Doesn't matter which one, doesn't matter which color your marker is, as long as you can see it. Then, right sides together. Put your right sides together of your squares, and yeah, right sides together, one dark, one light. You will not be happy if you put two of your fabrics together that are the same color, because yeah, that just won't work. And we're gonna do the same with the other one. Okay, and then I always pin mine, and what you're gonna do is you're gonna go to the sewing machine and do not sew on the line. No, you're gonna sew a 1/4 inch on either side of the line. So what I do is I have a 1/4 inch foot on my sewing machine. So as I feed it in, the 1/4 inch foot just glides right along that line. In fact, mine is just slightly to the right of it, because you know what? Your pencil has a weight to it. So it creates a line that has a weight to it. So either way, you are all good, because these are made just a tad bigger than you need. So this is going to allow us to trim down your half square triangles, so they're going to be perfect when you're done. So sew 1/4 inch on either side of your lines on both of these blocks, and then I'll come back and show you what to do next. Now that I have my 2 blocks sewn on either side of my line, I either go, a lot of times I'll just go right to the ironing board, and I'll use my shears and just cut right on the line. No need to come back to my cutting table and getting a rotary cutter and being precise. Just cut on the line. And then at the ironing board, I find that it really helps to finger press first. I got some good nails, so finger press first to the dark. It really doesn't matter which direction, because you're not exactly going to be lining up seams. So you're gonna finger press, and then you're going to press those. I have my ladle ironing over here. We're gonna do a quick press. Okay, we're gonna just, okay. Now we have those pressed. Now, get my Omni Grid ruler out, and now we're going to trim these to 2.5 inches. So my Omni Grid ruler, I have a diagonal line, and you want to make sure you keep your seam on your diagonal line, but then make sure you nudge that up here far enough where you have fabric to cut off on both sides here, but you also want to make sure down here at the bottom that it's past a 1/2 inch, your 2.5. So your 2.5 inch line here and here, you want that inside of your fabric also, so that when you flip this, you have enough fabric to trim that side too. Okay, so I'm good with this one. And this is why I say just go ahead and add an inch. A 7/8 inch gives you a little less to trim, but if you have any little awkwardness, sometimes you don't have enough to trim. So that's why I add an inch to the finished size for my starting block. Okay, so what I did there is I lined up my cut line, my first cut, on my 2.5 inch, which left me extra here to trim off. There we go. So you're gonna do that on all 4 of the half square triangles. Okay, so I have 2 of those. So we're gonna just fake it and assume the other 2 are already trimmed. So now you have your block there. Take a picture of it, whatever, and then you put your 4.5 inch square. I always like to lay my block out first. Your 4.5 inch square, and then we have one of the, I don't know what you'd call it, your paw, your feet, your toenails, whatever. Those are gonna go here. My corner's gonna go there. And of course, it's not going to match perfectly right now because you have the seams you haven't done. And then we put this one and this one. Okay, this means the best way to sew this together is like this. Sew those 2 together, and that way you can sew them onto this. And then sew this row together. And that way, this row fits on here. Sometimes that's the trickiest thing if you're looking at a block and you're trying to go, how do they do that? How do they sew that together? Is dissect it and kind of look at it in pieces and go, okay, what can I sew together? Therefore, allowing us to put things together. Yeah, sorry, that was kind of confusing maybe, but there you go. Now, with that said, you could have also done those two together and that. Either way, you got to get this big block on two of those somewhere before you can sew on the others. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put those two together and go to the sewing machine. I'm going to finish trimming these, and I'm going to put those two together. And then once these two are together, I'm actually going to take this to the sewing machine with me and put it here. Now, when you do that, make sure you're paying attention so you get this on the right block. Because if you put it down here, yeah, then you're going to have a problem because your half square triangles are going to be wrong direction. So what I would do is I would probably just put a pin there as an indicator. This is the side that I want to attach that to when I go to the sewing machine. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to sew those together, these all together, and then come back and we'll finalize the next pieces. Now that I have two of my half square triangles sewn together, then the other two half square triangles sewed together with the 2.5 inch block, this is what we have. So that's not going to fit on there very nicely until we sew these two together. Now, when I pressed these, it doesn't matter which direction you press, these I pressed everything up. So it goes, so this last one presses towards the block that has no seams, which will be nice because this one, when I put these two together, I'm going to press towards this block, which has no seams in it. Therefore, it's going to make it very easy to match seams. Okay, so we're going to take this and put it over here, have everything match nice and neat, and we're going to sew it. Now, with these blocks, they have these little pesky, well, pieced triangles on the edges, on the corner. And sometimes in your sewing machine, when you're starting to sew and you're sewing and you're hitting that first corner, it can be a little bit of a bugger. And sometimes your sewing machine wants to jab it into your foot, into your bed, and it gets icky. I don't like that. So what I found really helps is have another piece of scrap fabric. I call it a leader, and then you start sewing on that, and then you have your block that you're going to sew and get it right next to it and feed them through there together. And this helps lead your foot from here onto the one with your peskier, heavier seams. And then I also find the purple thing. Yep, that's what it's called, a purple thang, T-H-A-N-G. Comes in handy sometimes to just kind of help maneuver it, hold it down, whatever, so it doesn't get all wonky on you. Otherwise, sometimes I just have one end of my block that's gonna be blunt, a pain in the ass. No matter what I do, it wants to be icky on me. Flip it over. Flip over the block and start on the other end. I know the other end still has that diagonal too with your seams, but sometimes that is all it takes is to get your seam to feed through there and behave. So there you go. It's just one of those things as part of quilting that happens. Okay, so I've got that. I'm going to go and sew this. And then, yeah, I'm gonna go do that. As you can see, I now have these sewn together and I've finger pressed and then pressed. That's one of the key things with quilting. Press, press, press. You will have much better results when you press between things. I know sometimes we get in a hurry and we think finger pressing, but personally, you need more than finger pressing. So I finger pressed, I pressed it. So this is all good. And this is all set. So we're going to just take the last pieces. This is now ready to go here. And because I pressed this seam up and these seams down, we're all ready to go. And this is the only seam in the entire block that you need to match, which is why this is a perfect block for a beginner also, is because it looks like, oh, do I have to match a lot of seams? And yeah, some patterns have you do those pesky half square triangles one at a time with cutting triangles and whatever. Oh, heck no. We can do this so much easier. So we just take this and I get my seams to match nice and neat. Match that up, and I make sure it kind of matches all the way down so it's nice and straight. And I pin it, and then I get my corners and my edges, and we're going to get this all pinned up nice and neat. And then we're going to sew the final seam, and we're going to have a finished block. There we go. Here is my finished bear paw. Very cool. Yep, it really is that simple. Now, as I mentioned, you can use this in your quilt as it is. Some I've seen do something like this, where they put 4 of them, and you know what? This is gonna look really weird, but I'm gonna grab the goose tracks in ducks, goose, ducks, whatever. The duck's foot in the mud block, which I previously showed you how to do, which is very, very similar, except you'll notice the difference is the bear paw block we just made has a single 4.5-inch square. The duck's foot in the mud that I showed you actually uses multiple 2.5-inch squares. Either way, pretend that looks like that. So some I've seen have put 4 blocks together and then put sashing in between them, maybe a 1-inch, 2-inch, probably, yeah, play with it. And then another square in the middle of a different color. And then you've got a bigger block with a set of 4 of them together. That would be very cool. These don't look so great together. You also could put them all together, but then you're going to end up with the bear paw, just one big honkin' square of this color, which not really a fan of. But with the duck's goose one, you keep saying duck's goose, duck's foot in the mud, that could possibly look really cool if you have 4 of those together. Anyway, just some thoughts there. Go out and Google it. Just Google Bear's Paws quilt blocks or quilts, and you will find a huge array of quilts that are used and made with the Bear's Paw block. Now, as I said at the beginning, the Bear's Paws blocks that you find online may or may not be this exact layout of the block, but that's okay. It'll still give you some great ideas. So there you have it. Another super, super easy block to make that will go together very quickly. I did mine as a 6-inch block. It is very easy to change this up to a bigger block. You just need to adjust your squares. There you go. Take care and have a great day. Thank you so much for watching. I very much appreciate it. If you want to make sure you don't miss a single video I published, hit the subscribe button below and then hit the bell icon. And that way you will be notified whenever I publish a new video. But you can also find me over on Facebook. Facebook.com/Wendy, the initial J, Haney. Or I have a Facebook group for those of you that love quilting, needlework, books, wine, and wellness. You can find that at facebook.com/groups/lifefulfilled. The name of the group is Life Fulfilled - Quilting, Needlework, Books, Wine, and Wellness. You can also find me over on my website, wendyjhaney.com. I will be doing more blogging over there eventually. As I get more of my videos done, I'll be blogging about those. But also, maybe you see some things that I'm making here and you're going, ooh, wow, I just don't want to make that myself. Well, a lot of those products will end up over there on the website that you can purchase for your friends and family. Once again, thank you so much for your support, and I appreciate you watching.